Hi, and thank you for joining me in this conversation today on how to impress the new patients. I'm talking to you from the Living Group headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland. We're in one of our training rooms. We have 5 major training rooms here and 21 conference rooms where doctors come to spend time with our faculty, consultants, and to meet other doctors and staff. Our subject today for our conversation is going to be around impressing the new patient. After the economy of 2007, 8, 9, and 10, it became obvious that consumers had a new desire. They want more value for their money, and that includes dental practices. When dental practices dropped off in 2009 and 10, it became very evident that many did not have the right step-by-step systems, they did not have the value creation scripting, and they weren't setting targets to achieve their goals. So what we've learned is that if the consumer, the patient, wants more value for their money, then practices have to strategize how to deliver that. It won't be by better dentistry because the dentistry, by and large, has been excellent. Every doctor that I know, and I'm a general dentist as well, is very dedicated to providing the best quality of care they can for their patients. That's the #1 driver for dentists. Unfortunately, today that's not enough. The days of hanging a shingle and merely opening a practice and being successful are coming to a close. You might have some level of success, but it's getting tougher, and we meet many young dentists that are struggling in their early years, and more other dentists who are struggling throughout their career based on the current economic conditions and numbers of new patients coming in. So one of the keys that we have learned is that you have to give more value to the new patient, and you have to give it early. When we say new value, I've already talked in another conversation with Roger on this website about the new patient experience. The first phone call, what to say it, how to express value in that phone call. But for this conversation, I'm going to give you some tips that can be part of the new patient orientation. Now let's pick up from the point where the patient meets the dental assistant. The dental assistant should be introduced to the patient by the front desk coordinator, not simply have a door open to the reception room and a name called out. The assistant should follow the standard 4 greeting elements of shake hands, make eye contact, smile, and ask the patient how they are. And look interested when you ask that question. Then say to the patient, after introducing herself, I'm going to escort you back to the clinical area. Once they hit the clinical area, the assistant should enter something called the Golden 10. The Golden 10 means that we want to learn 10 new things about that patient on a personal level. Who are they? Where do they work? Tell us about your family, your hobbies, your interests, why you're in our practice, who referred you, even though we got some of that in the first phone call. So the Golden 10, psychologists say, is fantastic because when you move into a realm of knowing 8 to 10 personal things about a person, you're beginning to move from professional relationship to personal relationship. And let's face it, people like their friends. One of my sayings in the 100 seminars I present each year in the United States and worldwide is make your patients your friends. Why? Because people like their friends, and when people like you, they trust you. And when they trust you, they tend to accept your recommendations when you're presenting cases. So, like, trust, acceptance, all go in order. We start with the Golden 10. Body language is very important. The assistant should sit down, lean forward. Leaning forward creates energy. Leaning back diffuses energy. So when you want to create energy, you lean forward. If someone's having a conflict with you, you want to lean back to diffuse the energy. Well, with patients, we want to create energy. And energy is a very important term when it comes to case acceptance and case presentation. Energy is contagious. I always tell doctors the most important thing you can do is manage your energy and manage the energy of your team. Because when patients perceive energy, it's contagious. They feel better. They feel happier. They like you better. They trust you more. They accept more treatment. Nothing is worse than a practice where the doctor is highly skilled, has spent a fortune on continuing education. We see this all the time. I had a call yesterday from a doctor who spent a fortune last year on continuing education, but he doesn't have the return on investment to show for it. And why? Because he's a wonderful clinician, it sounds like, but he's not a wonderful communicator, influencer, is not trained in interpersonal relations. He is not the person that can engender this valuable relationship of like, trust, and case acceptance. So it starts with the golden 10. When the doctor comes in, he or she needs to review some of those golden 10. It's all about building a relationship as early as possible and as quickly as possible with the new patient. These are really critical elements. So we start with the golden 10. We learn who their families are. We defer to our internal marketing program. Levin Group has the only one-year internal marketing consulting program where when we find out about the family, we make certain offers to make it easy for family members to meet the office at no cost, get some value, and then become a patient, because one of our sayings for front desk people, with the target of 98% of all patients being scheduled at all times, is nobody leaves without an appointment. Well, once a family member has experienced a wonderful practice, they don't want to go anywhere else, and they're going to schedule and stay in the practice. So there are many, many benefits of starting off a relationship with the best positive, deepest relations you can build with a patient. And whether it starts with the golden 10, whether it starts with the first phone call, whether it starts with shaking hands, making eye contact, smiling and asking the patient how they are, these are all critical elements in this conversation. And while there's an order for these, because we use documented step-by-step systems that we place into practices, it's very different than what we normally see. Patient calls the office, we get them scheduled. They get a confirmation call, almost as if they're too foolish to remember to come in. They come in, we greet them, we shove a bunch of forms at them, or we ask them if they filled them out online, and then they sit and they wait, and then they come back to the clinical area, and we start an examination phase. And while everybody's nice, that's not value. Value today is not about the clinical skills only. It's also about the relationship. People want more value for their money. So I hope this conversation has been helpful. I hope you've learned a lot from it. It's a wonderful one to show to your team, to think about how you build together. On behalf of myself and all the consultants at Levin Group, I thank you for joining me for this conversation with Roger.